Talia, thanks for that. It's I think by necessity, any fair discussion on these points will contain more talk about copyright than anything else, because it sits at the top of the discussion, and there's no rest of this discussion to have if we don't do a good job talking about that. So it was necessary, and I mean, any one of these points could take up an hour, but we do our best to get through them. What are performance rights organizations? When you own a copyright in a song, if you're fortunate enough for that song to be played in bars or on TV, or used in any other way that's publicly performed, perhaps in a restaurant, on an airplane, on a train, you have rights that are being utilized. And if you do not register with a performance rights organization, you will not get paid for that. And other than music licensing, because most music is enjoyed by people by streaming now, which pays the artist very little money, one of the only ways you get paid is by PROs. I'll give you an example. I had a song on a record I recorded in 2005. And a friend of mine called me up and he said, "Will you send me an instrumental version of that? I want to use it for something." And I said, "Sure." And he dropped it into this sports association show, which got used in every event for maybe 15 or 16 years. And every year I got an Ascap check once or twice to show up in my account, which is more money than I've ever made in music from anything that I ever did for this one song. Not enough to buy a car or retire on, but it makes a difference every time it shows up. And so what do they do? If you're playing music in a public place, and I think Talia touched on this, you need to get licensed by one of the performance rights organizations to use that music. It's easy to register. It's free. I'm a member of Ascap, but there's BMI and there's CSAC. Ascap and BMI, anybody can sign up for if you have music you want to register. CSAC, you need to be invited. I've never been worthy of being invited. But anyway, I think about that Groucho Marx quote. What was that? You don't want to belong to any club that would have you as a member. so it's okay with me. But anyway, the process of signing up for it, it's pretty easy and it's pretty straightforward, as is the registration process. Just to refresh myself on Ascap tonight, I went and registered a work that I recently released, which I should have done right away, by the way. And it was an easy one because I was the sole author. But this is where that split sheet that we were talking about earlier comes in real handy, because I've been in the situation where, you know, I'm like, oh gosh, I have to take care of this, and the record's coming out, and, you know, we haven't had these conversations. So I find myself calling people and saying, what do you think you did on that song? And what, you know, in the case of copyright, you know, what's your date of birth and things like that, because you need that for every author on the copyright. For Ascap, you need to know if your co-authors have an Ascap account, or if it's BMI or CSAC or some overseas or organization from another country, and most of the performance rights organizations work with each other. But if you don't have that information, you can't drop it in when you're filling it in, and it will drive you crazy. And you either have to save a draft, if you can, of your application, or go get that information and start again, which is part of why I built some of that into the split sheet, which we're going to make available. So you just pull it out for that song when you're going to register, and you say, oh, okay, yeah, Percy's with BMI, here's his number, drop it in, I know he's going to get paid. The other thing it will ask you sometimes when you're registering another publisher is whether you have the rights to from that composer to be doing this registration. So I put something in the split sheet that governs that as well, which just makes it a little easier down the line. I mean, amongst friends, it's always pretty easy, because usually nobody feels like doing it and nobody's gonna do it, and they're just thankful anybody will do it. but it's good to have something in writing that covers it. So when you're registering a song with Ascap, it asks you, and I'll just give you the single author example. It asks you who the writer is, and I believe it says composer and author. For ASCAP purposes, it considers composer to be the music and author to be the lyrics. And it's pretty easy to find that out and choose the right option. It also asks what your role is. Actually, that's where the composer and author thing comes up. And then it asks what your share is. And ASCAP splits up the shares this way. It treats the writer's share or author share as 50%, and it treats the composer share as the other 50%. So you've got publisher and writer, and so you'll hear about writer's share a lot when you get further into this business, because it's one of the things that it's hard to get rid of your writer's share unless you do an absolute work for hire. And you want to hold on to that if you're an artist. You don't want to ever give away your writer's share if you don't have to, because if you're lucky enough to ever have a hit song, that is your annuity. That is what will feed you when you get older, and you want to hold on to that. And so the share percentages that you put in on the writing side have to total 50%. So if you've got one other writer and you agreed that it was going to be a 50-50 split on the song, then on the writer side of the registration, you're 25% each. And the same would apply to the publisher side. Now, I had to look this up a while back because I didn't know the answer to the question. The question being, do I need to register with ASCAP as a publisher and as a writer? And the answer is yes, because if you don't register as a publisher, they will hold back the other 50% of any revenue attendant to that song, because they don't know who to pay it to. They don't just assume it's yours, they just hold it. And it's easy to apply for a publisher account with them. You'll save yourself some time if you have 4 or 5 names ready that you'd like to use, and choose something weird, and you submit them all in your preferred order of what you want, and you find out pretty quickly if you get one or the other. And again, it's 50% on the publishing side. So if you've got 2 writers and you agree that you've done an equal contribution to the song, then it's 25% for each of you. So the total of both sides is 100%. It's kind of weird math, but that's how it works.
And so that sounds like that's one of the reasons why publishing companies always have strange names like Fuzzy Pickle and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, because Fred Smith is taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darn.
or whatever, good songs, music is taken.
Michael, on that point, a question on, so if we're going back to the DistroKid or CD Baby Pro example, if you're signing up for one of those admin publishers, are they going to do all this work for you?
I don't know if they do that or not, because I've always done it for myself. But I know that they've got, they're offering more help than ever. I mean, it's never been easier to release your own music. They make it very easy, but I don't know if they will do that or not for you. But they do have, I know for a fact that they do have numerous options for collecting various sources that might be out there. I mean, there are parts in the world where you get paid for public performance of master recordings, for example. If you own that, you might get paid, and some of those companies will go out and collect that revenue for you. So another one of the items that comes up when you're registering with Ascap for a particular song is it will ask for your ISRC code, which is the International Standard Recording Code. And it's something, again, if you're going to publicly release your music, it helps track it, and it helps track sales. And if you're putting it out on CD Baby or any of the other digital sources, they will ask you for your ISRC codes, and they usually get put into the metadata for each song as well. They're good identifiers to help find out whose song it is. And that's about it for registering. It's so much easier than all these copyright issues, which are deep, and each one of which we could talk about for hours. But it's no artists that I know like dealing with the administration of art. It's awful. It's not interesting. It's boring. It makes your head hurt. It makes your eyes water, and it's not fun, and it's not sexy. But it's part of the business that I strongly encourage people to just deal with. Deal with it when you create it, on the copyright side, on the song split side, and when you're getting ready to release your stuff, deal with the registrations. You might have a hit record. You might have something that gets played a bunch. You might not even know it's getting played a bunch, but if you don't register, you will never get paid for that. And as for the differences between ASCAP and BMI and CSAC, other than membership, which I already touched on, different people I know favor one or the other for reasons that have never really made any sense to me. Distinctions without a difference. But some people have their preferences and feel as though they got better attention and better treatment from one of them or the other. If you're not an artist that's selling a lot of music, it's more important that you just register with one of them than agonize over which one to register with. Just do it. It's not that hard. And for every one of these questions that we're talking about tonight, as far as registering, whether it be a copyright or with a performance rights organization, I guarantee you somebody has made a video and a blog to get into every nuance of your question and help you through it with visuals. And so just do it. It's really worth it. And everybody hates doing this stuff, but it's good.
A quick question. How do you get that code you were talking about?
The ISRC code.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have in front of me the website that I got it from, but there's, I believe, one company that's authorized to issue them, and they're not expensive. I just searched it on Google and I found it. It takes a little bit of weeding to get through the ones that pretend that they're that company. They do it also, but they're not the primary source. But it's not too hard to get to it, and it doesn't cost much money, and you buy a bunch of them at once. And so you just go back and assign them yourself whenever you got a new record. And I think I bought them once, and I just did my 4th record with them, and each time I have to refresh myself how to assign them, but it's pretty easy.
Okay. Rod, do you have anything to add to all the wisdom here?
No, I mean, I can tell you what kinds of things can happen when they go to court, but this is trying to keep you out of it. So
yeah. Yeah, we only end up in front of you when somebody's not done one of these things, or
yep.
Not done it well enough.
And what's a fine line to everybody out there is a bread line to a judge.
Yeah.
So,
any questions on the PROs?
No, I think what you all have offered has been immensely helpful, at least introduction to this world of protecting your music, and I think your forewarning that this is something you want to learn and take care of now, especially when you've just created the song, because waiting or failing to do it can be no fun if there's a successful song in the works there. So
yeah, it's never going to be easier than when you're still in love with each other.
True.
Well, thank you all very much. Thank you, Talia Kosh. Thank you, Michael Lee Jackson. Thank you, Judge Kennedy, for all that you've contributed tonight. I
Thanks,
know
Gary.
all the musicians out there who listened are better off for it. So thank you.
Anyway, thanks for having
Yeah.
us, Gary. That was really fun.
Thanks, Gary.
And thanks to all you guys.
Pleasure.
You
Thanks
bet.
all of you. Yes.
And thanks to everyone as well. We appreciate your spending time with us and your valuable information. For people who want to get a copy of the PowerPoint or of Michael's file that he had referred to, please write us at musicbizmonday@gmail.com and we'll send you a copy of that. So with that, again, thank you everyone. Thanks especially to Candyman Strings and Things. And thanks to our crew, Trish Parks and Phil Moon, to make this possible. Thanks for joining us. We hope to see you next month, and everybody be safe out there.